Hey guys, welcome to yet another lesson with me, Stunner2150. Today's lesson is going to be about motherboards and the certain parts that they work with, heat sinks, northbridge, southbridge, chipsets, what these things are. I'm just going to do a quick tutorial on it. I'm not going to get too into detail. I'm not going to go into exactly what everything does and exactly is. It's just going to be a just quick, rough tutorial. Hope you enjoy. Okay guys, so what you're looking at here would be a motherboard, a standard motherboard. Nothing special about this. You can buy this exact one for about 50 bucks. I think you can get them on discount for like 39. It's very basic. The reason why I don't care if I touch it, it's already fried. Something's wrong with it and my dad couldn't get it fixed, so he gave it to me because I asked him I wanted to make a video on it. Anyways, let's start with the basics. This is what your motherboard is going to look like when it's sitting in your computer case. It'll be sitting like this. Okay. Now, over here you'll find the processor. This is a socket 775, also known as a socket that supports the Core 2 Duos, Core 2 Quads, Core 2 Duo Extremes, Core 2 Quad Extremes, the Pentium dual cores, the Celeron dual cores, mainly all the most popular CPUs will fit in here. To open something like this, you just go right here, you pull this out like so, then this little latch right here, just lift it up if I can grab it. Okay, you push it down and your socket is exposed. You put your CPU inside firmly, you close it, you lock it, press down, it'll latch inside there. That is where your CPU or central processing unit goes. Over to the right, we have your RAM sockets. This supports 2 RAM sockets. From what I know of this model motherboard, it supports 2 gigabytes, maybe I think 4, I'm not sure. But if you don't know what RAM chips are, I plan on making a video on what it is. RAM stands for random access memory. What you do is you open these sockets, you push them back, and once you stick your chips in, you're going to lock them up, and that's about it. Now this is your Northbridge chipset, if I'm not mistaken. Now what this does is it controls everything that goes into here, your RAM, and other stuff around here. Now these are capacitors. Okay, this is all what has to do with the electricity and current that goes into your CPU. Without these, your CPU would either be under voltaged or over voltage, causing your CPU to fry, everything else in your computer to be completely destroyed. So these are very important. The higher quality they are, the longer and more, efficient your CPU will run, and less prone you are to accidents. Okay. Now down here we have PCI slots. This is probably the most important one you'll probably come across. This is called a PCI Express bus. This is where your graphics cards would go into. I'll get into that in a few. This is your PCI Express 1 slot, 1X. This is for sound cards, other peripherals that don't use too much data bandwidth. This is about 1 of what this is. I'm not sure if this is an 8X or 16X PCI Express slot. Then we have your standard PCI slots. Okay, these are I really don't know what people really use them for. I personally don't use them, but they're there just in case you have any legacy hardware you need to use. That's there. Over here you have your motherboard power connector. This is, I believe it's a 24 pin. I'm not sure if it's 24 or 26. I believe it's a 24 since it's a low-end motherboard. Now this is where your power supplies connector would go, which powers everything inside this little thing. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and continue. Okay, now over here next to your CPU you have your 4-pin power connector. Now what this 4-pin power connector does is it's connected to your power supply. Stick your power supply cable into here and it feeds energy into the capacitors. Okay? And once it goes into the capacitors, it then calculates how much how much energy the CPU currently needs and how much it will need when processing large amounts of data, which is then plugged into here. So technically, what this power connector does is it feeds energy to your CPU. Okay? Now if we turn it down over here you'll find your PS2s for your mouse and your keyboard if you're using legacy pieces instead of USB. If you're not using USB, wow, you're really stuck in the 90s. This is your VGA monitor output. This, I'm not very sure what this part is. Let's see if we can, there we go. I'm not really sure what this is. I've never seen this before actually, probably because it's so old. But this is your VGA to your monitor. You have two USB 2.0s right here. Okay, you have your Ethernet, you have your channel audio. Don't mistake this for full 7.1 surround sound audio, as it only has one channel. Alright, this is your very basics. I would recommend getting a sound card put into this slot, your PCI Express 1.0 slot. Okay, then over here you not only have 4 USB slots, but you have the option to put in 2 more USB slots that would connect to your case. Okay? Also on this motherboard you will find 2 SATA connectors, also known as serial ATA, hence the name serial ATA at the bottom. Alright, those are for hard drives or other peripherals. Since you only have 2, I would recommend only using them for hard drives. Okay, as I said, you have your ATX power connector. Okay, down here you have your IDE connector, which is, I mean, nobody really uses this anymore except for legacy items like CD drives and such, and old hard drives. Over here, I believe this would be your south bridge, although I don't know why there's no heatsink or anything to it. But what the south bridge does is graphics cards, sound cards, and other peripherals. I believe it also does USB and stuff. Okay. In conclusion, that sums up my my lesson on what a motherboard is and how it works and the parts and components that go into it. Keep in mind that while the computer case is the bone structure in a sense of your computer, the motherboard would be considered the body or the meat in a sense, as everything connects to it. The motherboard, my bad. The processor would be considered the brain, the graphics card, the eyes, sound card, the ears. The hard drive would be the memory of your brain, and so on and so on. That about sums it up, and I hope you've learned something today, and I hope you've enjoyed my tutorials. Thank you and have a nice day.